And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at a game called Firenze, or Florence, in the 12th to 14th century. This is a game designed by Andreas Stedding, who I'm starting to really enjoy his designs for their simplicity, but yet at the same time, fun. People say that I'm not a big fan of Euro games, but this is the style Euro game that I like, the medium weight Euro game where the theme fits the mechanics. Am I giving away my opinion early? I don't know. Let's take a look and I'll be right back. In this game, you're trying to build different towers over the course of the game, and you'll be doing that if you take a look here at the middle of the board. This is where the most important thing is. As players are going to be playing this game, they're going to be trying to build towers of different sizes, and each of the towers is built with different color bricks. So for example, I might want to build a tower that's level 4, and it needs to be 4 red bricks. If I do so, I'm going to get 3 points. When I build that tower, I'm going to place one of my seals over that to show that no one else can build that. You can build these towers in pretty much any order, but you'll notice that the different towers have different values. For example, 8 white bricks will give you 8 points, while 8 purple bricks there gives you 14 points. Also, at the beginning of the game, you put out some random seals. You can put them basically wherever you want that show that those size towers can't be built this game. And you'll put out 4 different balconies, numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, which will be different each game because there's different piles of the different tiles. And those give you bonus points. For example, this one, if I build a 5 green, I get 7 points, which is better than building a 6 green. The difference here is that the balconies must be built in order. So the first person to build this one, then someone else can build that one, then someone can build that one, then someone can build that one. Everything else can be built out of order. But how do you go about building these towers? Well, a player is going to have a building site in front of them, and they're going to start with a certain number of white bricks in front of them. White is the most plentiful, and the number you get is determined by your start position. There's also a row of cards here, and this is an important thing. At the beginning of a player's turn, the player must take one of these cards. Now, they can always take the first card for free, or they can take any other card they want. However, if they take, for example, this third card, they would have to put a block on the first 2. So if you skip all of them and take the last one, you're going to have to pay 5 blocks. When you take a card, you will get all the blocks on that card, and you will get to use the card itself. Now, the problem with this is that some of the cards are bad. Like this Storehouse Fire is a bad thing. So when that comes up, I'm probably going to want to skip it, unless so many people have passed it that there is such a high pile of blocks on it. You're also, besides looking at the cards, going to be looking at the color of blocks that you want. Now, when a player takes the card, sometimes the card is resolved immediately, other times it's added to their hand. They'll take the bricks. Players can also exchange 3 bricks, no matter what color they have, for 1 brick of any color out there. So if you really want a purple, for example, purple is rare. In fact, if you look here on the board, you'll see that little number there shows you how many bricks there are of each color, 25 whites, all the way down to only 8 purples. So you can trade in 3 for 1. If you'd like to. Then you will build towers in front of you. Again, this is an optional thing. You can build a tower by placing bricks down. You can add bricks to towers that are already there. In fact, you must add bricks to towers that are already there. If you don't, that tower is dismantled. You'll keep half the bricks, the other half are placed in the bag. And so you'll want to build these. However, there is a building cost. When you build a tower, if you can build 2 of them for free, but if you build 3 pieces of a tower on a turn, you have to pay an extra block to the bag. If you build 4 pieces, you have to pay 3 extra blocks. It's all the way down to 10 pieces, which is crazy. You have to pay 6 blocks to the bag. Now, when you play a card, when you take a card in the game in the blocks, all the other cards will slide down. A new card is revealed, and 4 more blocks are randomly drawn from the bag and placed on that. Lots of blocks in this bag. Let's take a look at the cards. Some of the cards are people. Those cards will come in your hand, and you have a hand limit of 5 cards that you keep from turn to turn, but you can play these cards on other turns. For example, this one will reduce my construction cost by 3. This one here lets me trade a brick from my storehouse with someone else's storehouse. This person lets me block an event card or discard another card from my hand. These cards, when they come up, are basically events that will stay on the board. There's spots for them. Each of them, sometimes they must be followed. Like, for example, this one here, everyone has to build a 3 white block building unless they, before they can build any other buildings. This one here, on the other hand, though, is a positive thing. The next person who finishes a commission that's 5 levels will get extra 2 PP, which is prestige points, PP, victory points. Then there are buildings. When you get these, you can play them in front of you, and it gives you a special ability for the rest of the game. For example, this one. Your storehouse is raised to 15 bricks, and your card limit is rescinded. So you can have as many cards as you want, and at the end of each turn, you have to discard down to 10 bricks that are not being built in towers, but are in front of you. This one brings it up to 15. Or the workshop, your construction costs are reduced by 1. Or bridges, when you exchange bricks in the middle, you can do it 2 for 1 instead of 3 for 1. Other cards are worth victory points. You just take it, you keep it in your hand, at the end of the game you'll reveal it. Here you get 1 victory point for every commission that's 3 or 4 levels. So this allows you to do a strategy of building small towers. Others, though, disgrace, lose 2 points, scandal, lose 3 points. You don't want these cards, but sometimes there's so many bricks on it that that's the card you're going to take. Or fame, you get 3 points. Then there are event cards. When these show up, players must deal with them immediately. Everyone has to give back a third of their bricks. One of your towers falls down. Everyone pays 2 bricks for towers that are 5 or higher. Or this one, which I like a lot, which you discard, and then shuffle the discard and draw pile together, making a new deck. This means that you're never sure exactly what cards will come out over the course of a game. Now, as players are building, there are some bonus tiles that players will get. The first person to build a level 5, 6, 7, or 8 building. And at the end of your turn, you're allowed to discard any of your towers to build a building in the middle. And this will continue until one player has placed all of their seals on the board. Every other player then gets 1 final turn, and the player who finished and put the final seal on the board will take this 5 bonus point chip. Everyone then shows any victory point cards that they have, and that bonus chip, and these other bonus chips that they've gotten. And the person with the most prestige points is the winner of the game. Very much enjoy this one, ladies and gentlemen. It is a very fun game. There's a lot to like in this game. First of all, I love the building blocks. I love building towers. A tower theme always gets me. Like Manhattan, where you build towers. I liked, there's many games where I've physically built towers. Bam, I'm there. But that's not enough to make you like the game, because there are some physically built tower games which are not so hot. What makes this one really interesting for me is that card mechanic. That mechanic in itself is one I've always enjoyed. It's like No Thanks or Small World, where you can take the cards you want, which has the resources you want, but if you want a card farther down, you have to put resources on each card till you get to the one you want. Or you trade 3 blocks in. So these cards sometimes have piles of blocks, but it's a bad card. Makes you lose 3 points. Who's going to take that card? And finally someone says, I'm going to take it. And you say, I was going to take that on my turn. And so there's that back and forth, and there's also cards that are very interactive. So the game is kind of a, not push your luck, but kind of who's going to be the first one to build a building. As you're building different buildings, each person can only build one of each type. The white buildings are really simple to build. There's so many blocks in there. So I'm building a 6 and you have a 6 tower, and I say, okay, should I just build my 6 tower now and let him go for the 8 tower so I can start working on something else? Or where I take the chance of maybe getting my tower done first, building the balconies in order. This is not a complex game. This is not a game that you're going to go home and sit and think about and say, oh, I could have played this differently. But it is a fun one. It is a game that you can throw out. It worked really well with 3 players. It also, goes up to 4 players, but it worked really well with 3, also with 2. Just that back and forth thing. I'm going to build, and the game plays very quickly. It's a smooth game. It's a game in which it's easy to make decisions, but at the same time, the different color blocks, that chunkiness of pulling them out of the bag, gives it a good feel to it and brings that theme of building buildings into the game. So, man, I was really kind of surprised by this one, because the cover itself didn't really, it's a nice cover, but didn't, I opened it up and looked at the board and I said, what is this? It looks like they took artwork from different famous paintings and stuck it on the board, and I hope this is good. It wasn't inspiring me, but when I saw the blocks and then I saw that you actually physically built the towers, I thought, this is getting more interesting. But the card mechanic, taking a card and all the blocks that are on it, as you look at each card and say, I want that card because of those specific colors, and I also want that specific card, but this card is a much better card. Don't need the colors on it. Which one am I going to choose? These aren't tough, hard choices to make, but it makes for a fast, moving game, and you're always constantly watching what the other players are doing and what towers they're building. So, very enjoyable game. I know that it's going to be being brought to, it's currently available in Europe, but it's going to be brought to America. So when that happens, you should certainly look for a copy of it, Firenze.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.
Yeah?